I'm in an 18 Nexus point. We're on the second boss. Tank Buster is coming in. Action bars. We see Ardent Defenders on cooldown, Guardian Mage and King's on cooldown, both stack, Divine Shield on cooldown, Spell Warding on cooldown, and I could Word of Glory, but it wouldn't matter. I'm already at full health. And the result, I die. Keys bricked. Now the thing that really bothers me about this is that a few days earlier on my Guardian Druid alt, that is significantly lower item level, and I barely know how to play, I tanked an 18 Masara Caverns. I barely used defensives, and I lived. Not, playing perfect, not knowing what I'm really doing, just Frenzied Regeneration, get a crap ton of Absorb Shield, and just win. So that's what this video is about, is addressing the gap between classes here. Let me get my credentials out of the way, because I know what the comments are going to say. I've played Protection Paladin for about 4 years. My Prot Paladin this season is 290 item level, mostly best in slot. It's actually a little bit higher now, item level, and I'm in the top 10 Prot Paladins on my server, and it's not a small server. It's Moonguard. I know it's a roleplay server, but still, it's a full server. This season, my best result on my Prot Paladin is about Resilient 17. I have a few 18s timed now. I got an invite to push higher with a friend. We did some Resilient 20s. We ran Nexus Point together with a Discipline Priest. We wiped over and over and over and over. It required perfect execution from me, plus a lot of luck from procs, between his procs and my procs, and we never timed it. Meanwhile, on my Guardian Druid, a class I'm, mediocre at best, I comfortably timed an 18 with 2 minutes left on the clock, lower gear, less skill expression, 0 deaths. So before anyone says it's a skill issue, I genuinely love to know what skill I'm missing that a brand new bear with worse gear apparently has. This isn't a my class needs to be S tier complaint either. I don't really care about the meta. I've always just played Paladin every season. It's just what I love to play. Every class gets its time in the sun. Every class in a season will shine more than another, and that's fine. Fine with Brewmaster or Warrior doing more damage or having better utility or whatever. I don't need my class, right, to be the one and only. I don't even really need it to be that balanced. I just need my characters not to be broken. Here's a principle I think a lot of people can agree with. If a class is harder to play and has a higher skill ceiling, you should be rewarded with either more damage or more survivability or better utility. Something to justify the mental load and the effort that you're putting forward. So Protection Paladin, in theory, should, being one of the higher skill ceiling tanks with all the things that you have to manage, where Guardian Druid, by comparison, is pretty simple, right? It's 2 or 3 buttons, literally, Thrash, Moonfire, and then you can macro in Ironfur and Barkskin into your Thrash macro. So you don't even have to worry about managing those. Those will just be at a manageable level. So it's practically just a couple of buttons and you're good to go. Just cast Frenzied Regeneration, you're chilling. And yet the now low effort class dramatically is outperforming the high effort class on survivability and damage. How does that work? How is that fair? That's not one class shining. That's my class is just cooked. I understand that Blizzard tried to lower the skill floor for Protection Paladin by getting rid of our cooldown reduction and baking it in as flat cooldown reduction. But it has not made the class easier to play. It's made it extremely hard. It's less effective and less fun. To understand how broken Protection Paladin is right now, we'll look at block. The whole thing was block. Protection Paladins block with their shield, and they block both physical and magical damage in the past. Our mastery granted us block chance, and we had 2 talents in our talent tree that also generated block chance. Avenger Shield generated 10% block, and Word of Glory generated 30% block. So on demand, you could bring your block up to 100% if it wasn't already 100%, if you went mastery maxing, which mastery maxing was not the best for overall damage, so people usually didn't do that. But if you needed 100% block, you just cast Word of Glory, throw Avenger Shield, and you have 100% block. Guaranteed. Something you can bank on, something you can plan on. Now, with what they've done to our mastery, you can never reach 100% block. It's simply not possible. No matter how much mastery you put in, you'll never get to, I don't think you'll even get to 60% block. They've dramatically gutted our mastery, and the talents that gave us additional block are gone. That means that our overall block is lower, so our chance to block is significantly lower, and when we do block, we're now blocking less damage than we did before. The fix that they gave us as a result to neutering our block is they gave us higher passive armor, right? So now our passive armor is significantly higher, But armor is just physical damage. And a lot of the damage in Mythic Plus that matters, the big tank buster kind of damage, is either 50% magic damage or completely magic damage, which means that I have effectively no way to mitigate that damage while not using a defensive cooldown. And because they've gotten rid of my ability to reduce the cooldown by spending holy power of my defensives, I no longer have the control to bring back defensives when I need them, and I have nothing to do when I'm out of my defensives, and so you just die. They even took away our consecration. Consecration was based on however much mastery you had, it would reflect in damage reduction by standing in your consecration. It could be as much as 25% and as little as like 8%. On most people hung around 16 to 15%, something like that, damage reduction. Now we have a talent that at max the only thing, it just gives you 5% damage reduction from standing in consecration, which just isn't enough to care about. And it's a talent that's honestly kind of difficult to grab. It's really not very valuable. It just doesn't add enough. We have two massive holes in our defensive toolkit, and they replaced it by cutting most of our cooldowns in half and giving us an additional stack of Guardian Raging Kings. And it just wasn't enough. So here's something to think about. They gave us more healing, right? Consecration now heals for like 350% of its damage that it does, and they've added another talent that says the damage that Consecration does to a single target is increased by 100%. So you can be getting a lot of healing passively from your Consecration. So they're like, oh, well, we increased your armor, we gave you lots of passive healing. You know, we increased the healing, there's all these passive healing things. They increase the overall healing that Word of Glory does. Not enough, but well, let's take a look at that. Imagine you have an ability that fully heals you to max health instantly, constantly. So every third of a second, for 25 seconds straight, your health is just being reset. Just full health, full health, full health, full health, full health, just constantly, right? It's practically immunity. It isn't. Because the tank buster that hits you for 1 million damage when you only have 750,000 health, you're dead. It doesn't matter that you could have healed back to full health. If you're dead, you're dead. So healing doesn't matter how fast and how strong the healing is. It can't save you from an attack that exceeds your current health in a single hit. Obviously, correct? Absorb Shield doesn't have that problem. An Absorb Shield sits in front of your health bar and eats the damage before it touches you. So if I have 300,000 Absorb Shield on top of my 750 health, and I take 1 million damage hit, I have 50,000 health left. I survive because the shield ate the first 300,000 on top, right? Healing can't do that. Only Absorb Shields can. Guardian Druid's whole defensive identity is built around generating an obscene amount of Absorb Shield constantly and practically for free. Thrash converts a portion of its damage into Absorb Shield, and it also leaves a dot on the targets, which is continually generating Absorb Shield. And then when Frenzied Regeneration is used above 80% health, it converts all overhealing into Absorb Shield, which is ridiculous. I've done it. I've checked one time in the middle of a very large pull. I got to 3.4 million Absorb Shield in an 18 while actively being pounded. That's absurd. That's more than 3 times of my entire health pool just sitting in reserve. And that's not even factoring in the Absorb Shield that Thrash was generating. So I was probably sitting closer to 5 million Absorb Shield, just completely invulnerable. Compare that to my Protection Paladin, where best case scenario, I maybe have 300,000 Absorb Shield from the Absorb Shields that I can generate from Holy Bulwark. Same scenario, get hit for 1 million damage. I barely survive, or I'm dead. The bear is comfortably just chilling. Doesn't even realize they've been hit because their health bar literally didn't move. Also, it's not just that. Moonfire has a 45-yard reach, letting druids pull where other tanks have to expose themselves. Literally turn your back to the pull to run over and grab a mob that's really far away. And Lunar Beam, which increases their mastery, which is their damage, and increases their self-healing, and does damage, gets 3 seconds cut off of its cooldown every time you cast Moonfire or Thrash. And I've done the math, and I've looked at the back end. It has practically a 50% uptime. It lasts for 8 seconds, has a 1-minute cooldown with a 50% uptime. That doesn't add up. That's not how that should work. Barkskin is 40% damage reduction with only a 30-second cooldown, and it lasts 15 seconds, which means that's also 50% uptime, 40% damage reduction. It also increases the healing received by like 30%. So a character in leather armor holding a staff has more effective mitigation right now than a character in full plate holding an actual shield. What? So this is something I want people who don't tank to understand, because it explains why some of Blizzard's recent fixes, while appreciated, miss the actual problem. A tank's job isn't to survive on average. It's to survive one specific moment that would otherwise kill you. Mythic Plus damage isn't a smooth curve. It's mostly manageable trash damage, punctuated by a small number of generally lethal mechanics. Tanks live and die in those moments, not the average damage of the overall dungeon. This is why slow, passive, or proc-based mitigation is close to worthless for a tank, even if it looks great on a damage meter at the end of a run. If I generate 5% of my maximum health as an absorb shield every 5 seconds, that's going to show up as a big chunk of my total effective healing at the end of a dungeon, and it'll look great in a log, but it'll do almost nothing for me in the moment I actually need mitigation, because that moment needs 50%, 60%, or 100% mitigation, not 5%. And I need it in that moment that I need it, not in 5 seconds, not at a random proc, not something I can't control. This is exactly why Paladin's randomly proccing damage reduction effect feels so hollow. I can't plan around a coin flip. I need on-demand dependable mitigation that I can use the second I see the tank buster coming in. Guardian Druid's kit happens to generate so much passive absorb shield that the random stuff barely matters. They're already overflowing with on-demand defense from their core rotation. Paladin doesn't have that baseline cushion, so every random proc we do just highlights how thin our floor is the rest of the time. The other night I was laying in bed and I was really annoyed that my barely played alt was outperforming my Paladin that I played for years, and I figured out a style like Bear that would fix Prop Paladin, and it would roughly look like this. Taking damage has a chance to generate holy power. Shield of the Righteous costs 1 holy power instead of 3, and stacks its armor buff up to 5 times instead of 2. Avenger Shield now leaves a dot that stacks up to 5 times, generating an absorb shield over time. Word of Glory cast at above 80% health converts overhealing into an absorb shield instead of wasting it. Judgment has a 45-yard range and leaves a dot. Casting anything with the word shield in the name shaves a few seconds off of Avenging Wrath. During Avenging Wrath, Word of Glory costs no holy power and increases the chance of taking damage generating holy power from incoming damage. Ardent Defender's cooldown is just 30 seconds, right? So we just drop it from a minute to just 30 seconds. None of this even touches block. Just these changes alone would put Paladin's baseline survivability somewhere in Guardian's neighborhood, because the core problem isn't really the numbers, it's that we have no reliable way to generate defensiveness when we need it. Honestly though, what I actually want, rather than a full redesign, is just give us our block back. That's it. That's it. That's all I want. I just want my block back. Just give me my gosh damn block back. It worked. It was simple. It was easy to understand. And I'm baffled. I'm baffled. To be fair, Blizzard acknowledged that there was a problem with Paladin and it wasn't in a great place, and that the upcoming changes in the next patch, changing a bunch of stuff to kind of fix these things. The dev notes said they're trying to reduce the opportunity cost of taking Sentinel, broadening the suite of defensive talents options, and shift the power out of big cooldown windows into baseline throughput to smooth combat stuff outside of cooldown windows, which is great, but ultimately, again, I feel like they're looking too much at our damage. Anyway, let's read some of the big things that matter here. Seal of Reprisal is being redesigned, and Blessed Hammer will apply a flat 10% damage reduction for 8 seconds. Since we cast Blessed Hammer essentially on cooldown anyway, that's pretty dependable, 10% damage reduction just kind of constantly. It's not huge, but it's basically just our getting Consecration back, right? Blessed Word. This one's pretty decent. It's a new talent. Word of Glory stops critical striking, but its healing scales with your crit instead, and 80% of any overhealing done to yourself converts into an absorb shield. This is almost exactly what Frenzied Regeneration does, except Frenzied Regeneration heals for so much more health. So I don't know, we'll see if they buff Word of Glory to hit a little bit harder, but right now Word of Glory does, like, if you're at full health, it only heals you for like 20% of your total health pool, so you'd only be able to generate like 20% absorb shield with each Word of Glory. It's better than nothing. Please don't take it away. Please. Yeah, that's basically what I suggested, right? Like that was in my sitting in bed before these changes came out, just kind of ruminating. And I was like, oh man, if we had what Bear had, Prot would be really good, right? And that's pretty much this. Masterwork has been updated too. After casting Holy Armaments, your next Hammer of Righteous, Blessed Hammer, or Crusader Strike bestows a lesser armament on a nearby ally. I'm not sure if ally is going to include ourselves. There's a talent where 10% of our healing received from other sources splashed onto 4 nearby allies. And if you look at Warcraft logs and the breakdown, you'll see that sometimes even half of that healing is hitting you. So it counts you as an injured ally within distance and one of the 4 that can be healed. So if you take that talent, it's practically like a 5% healing increase that you receive from your healer, but it's kind of random. Sometimes it's lower than that. It's like 30%, sometimes it's 60%. Sometimes the injured allies that it can target are pets, right? So we'll have to see how Masterwork ends up functioning, but that could be pretty good buff because Holy Armaments includes Holy Bulwark, so it's possible that we could be generating lots of Absorb Shield from that. Now, none of this gives us our block back, so it doesn't really fully solve our magic damage vulnerability because our mastery has been so destroyed, but Blessed Word in particular is real, actual Absorb Shield, right? And we talked about how Absorb Shield is better than healing, so we'll have to see how it works out. Here's one of the things that's really annoying about this big patch. It's kind of like they boosted our overall damage by 25%. And I just don't care about my damage as a tank, right? I need to survive. My job is to survive. If I survive, my group survives. If my group survives, the chances of us timing the key or finishing the contact go up, right? Well, it's fun and cool to do good damage. Great. That's nice. It's a cool bonus. That's really not the problem I need to solve as a tank. It's never mattered. If I can do damage, great. Cool, but that's not my job. My job is to survive. Imagine if Holy Paladins were struggling to keep the raid alive and Blizzard's response was like, oh gosh, we see you guys here. We're going to give Holy Paladins a 300% damage increase. That would be absurd. You'd be the best damage dealing healer in the game and your raid would still be dying because the thing they actually needed you for, more healing throughput or more mana management or whatever, better tools, was never addressed. And that's exactly how it feels with the Paladin buffs that we've been getting over and over again. They just keep fiddling with our damage. And it's like, I just don't care. Fix my survivability. Give me my damn shield back. Now, I've seen these comments before of like, well, I don't push 18s and 20s. I don't care about this. This is not a me problem. And they think it's just a high-end issue, but it's not. Most players who engage with Mythic Plus sit at the 10 to 12 range. And we're talking about like 80% of players. Like I did the math in one of my TikTok videos. A lot of people do Mythic Plus. Like a very substantial part of the player base do Mythic Plus, and very substantial amount of those people who do Mythic Plus are hanging out in the 10 to 12 range. So they're not doing 6s and 5s where you can really just smash your keyboard. They're actually taking real damage, and mitigation genuinely matters. So this is a majority of the player base kind of issue. And I was struggling on Protection Paladin the whole season, right? As I'm gearing up and trying to scale throughout the season, I was struggling to survive the whole season. And this is not just a get good problem, right? I'm not good on my bear. I barely know what I'm doing, yet I'm able to do much better on my bear. I'm 3,550 rating on my paladin, and I'm 3,600 rating on my bear already, with a sliver of the time playing the class, with half my stuff just being macro. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't need Protection Paladin to be the best tank in the game. I've never asked for that. Every class gets their time to shine. Every class has their season. I'm completely fine with watching someone else be on top of the meters or getting picked first or whatever. I don't care. What I'm asking for is much smaller. Let me survive in my frickin' keys, man. If you want Paladin to be a more complicated class to play, please give me a reward for the effort. Let me survive. Let me do damage. Let me do something for my effort. But don't just have me be on a harder class and be worse in every measurable way. Blizzard clearly knows something's wrong. Blessed Word tells me that. I just hope that they keep pulling on this thread, because right now my favorite class in the game is the one that I'm having the least fun playing. And that really sucks. And I found myself just feeling super burnt out and just not playing this season. And I miss having fun and loving the game.